Hey everyone, it's Nick from Nick's Crossing, and welcome back to the railroad for another review. Today I'd like to go over some of my beacon cars or spotlight cars that I have in the collection, and we're going to start from right to left. So all aboard. Alright, so this is the first beacon car or spotlight car I have ever owned. And yeah, I know it's not that old, not that fancy, but it started my interest in the Pennsylvania Railroad, especially with the starter kit that it came with. Now, unfortunately, this car has had tons of issues, and most of it's with the wiring. The wiring was kind of janky. The leads came off the trucks, so I had to resolder it all back. Almost became like an entire rewiring of this car. Unfortunately, it also has the tab couplers, so if you add a bunch of cars and place this towards the front of the train, it may disconnect and leave your car stranded out in your railroad. But this is a 2008 Pennsylvania Railroad 36874 spotlight car, and it's a manual spotlight. So, as you guys can see, you have to move the light around on your own. Pretty cool. And the car that's connected to it is actually very similar. It's actually the same exact style mold to a T. So check this out. If I roll this down, and there we go. The exact same mold has the controls, and here up top, here I'll show you guys really quick. If you go up top, there's a shovel, a couple spools of wire, and it says maintenance right here. Track maintenance stamped in the side. Same with this car. Right here it says it right in there. It says track maintenance. So I thought that was very interesting. And these cars are a few decades apart because this car is actually from 1978. Look at that. And this is also a manual beacon car. I believe we would call this the MPC era right in here. This is more of a modern era car. Both are 027, but they do look really nice. I do like the coloring of the different styles here, like the Conrail blue. Gotta love that Conrail. And this number is CR9312. And like I said, Pennsylvania here, and Conrail right here. Another change in the design I've noticed with this one has a full-size light bulb in there. It's kind of hard to see. I can actually turn the light down right there. See, it's a full-size bayonet bulb. Compared to this car right here, has what we would call a grain of wheat style bulb. So this one is not as bright compared to this one, but I did notice something very interesting with this car is that the lens and everything really heats up. It's actually quite warm. So maybe in the future I'll put LEDs inside of these to help preserve the plastic shell and everything. Same with this one. Even though it is a grain of wheat bulb, it still produces a ton of heat from, I guess, the incandescent source. Alright, so now we moved on to a more classic Lionel car. This is the Lionel 3520 Lionel Lines post-war car from all the way back from 1952 and 1953. There are two variations that I could find online. This is the first of two. The other variation would have had a black collar on here instead of the silver metal collar. And this is an operating spotlight car or beacon car. And it works very simply. There's an electromagnet inside of here. If I lift this up, you see the coil is protected by a piece of tape, and the collar of this spotlight, or the lens, is metal, so it reacts with the electromagnet wanting to attract to it, but it can't. So what it's doing, it actually vibrates, and these little rubber feet underneath the collar for the lens are actually propelling it along. So there you go. And the more voltage you apply, the more power, the faster it will spin. So check this out. It goes really, really fast. When I purchased this car, I was actually with one of my other railroad buddies, and he told me that he believes this is a Detroit motor on here with a generator. So it's the generator car with operating spotlight. I've always thought these were so cool, especially going back to the early Lionel videos that I used to get on VHS from, I believe, the early 90s or so. It was a set of 3 Lionel tapes, and I remember seeing these in there, and also with the I Love Toy Trains videos. Someone always had one of these operating beacon cars or spotlight cars. I've always wanted one, and I ended up picking this up for about $10 at a train shop that had a bunch of used and post-war pieces. So I'm really happy I was able to pick this up. Now the cool thing with this car is that you can actually turn on and off the light by putting it over an accessory track, or simply using the end of a paintbrush and pulling down the tab for the switch. Now one thing I did notice with this car, it is missing the lens on the beacon, but it still shines very bright and everything like that, so I'm not too worried about it. But this lens is most likely missing because someone went to turn it off or put it on the track, and this fell off on the floor and possibly broke. Alright, so the final car of this set of 4 cars is this Kennicott Copper Corporation Spotlight work car. This is actually produced by K-Line, or was produced by K-Line, all the way back in 1998. This is a beautiful car. It actually links up with a diesel I have. It's an MP15 switcher, which you guys will see in a few minutes here. And this is a manual spotlight car, so basically you're at the mercy of how far these wires can stretch. This can rotate left and right. It's kind of weird how the wires are sticking out like that. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like that, but this car was picked up used at a flea market, and I noticed it because of the diesel I have would have matched in the same set. Now the Kennicott Copper Corporation, I believe, was located out in Utah. Not too familiar with them, but I really like the coloring, which you guys will also see on the MP15 diesel. Now one future thing I'd like to do with this car is actually add an LED inside of the work shed here, or the office area of this working car. I feel like it's kind of dark, kind of bleak, with having this light shining on this side, but nothing really to show in here. But that'll be pretty easy. I'll just link up an LED inside of there, and I'll probably paint it so it's not a harsh white. It'll be more of a soft amber color, similar to this light right here. Alright everyone, so here is the MP15 Kennicott Copper Corporation number 906. This is a K-Line piece. I'm not sure if it's from 98 because on here it says safety inspection 1997. We do have the front F on here, and I'll also give you guys a front view of this locomotive so you can see the front grille and headlight. Now I did do a repair video on this locomotive in the beginning of this channel, so if you guys like to check that out, I highly recommend checking it out. If you ever have to replace drive wheels on any K-Line diesels or locomotives, so it might help you guys out. But this one had a ton of problems with the wheels. I believe the front set, the wheels were corroded, so they started flaking apart. So I actually had to change out the drive wheels and also do some other gearing work in there as well. Now, with K-Line, the motors operate, or at least on this particular K-Line, the motors operate with DC motors that are located on the truck. So if you tip this over, you'll actually see a drum motor over here, another one over here, and that is supposed to add weight and stability to the engine, but it also makes it kind of bottom heavy, which is weird. So sometimes it likes to tip and things like that. It's kind of odd. Like when you pick it up, all the weight is in the trucks. So I have had this tip over multiple times. It's just a really weird weight distribution because on the inside it has the electronic reverse for the circuit cards and I believe the rectifier circuit for the DC motors. Unfortunately, this locomotive does not have any rail sounds or things like that, but this thing is packed, so I don't know if I could even fit even a digital horn or something like that on the inside. But you do have all of this great venting over here. I love this logo. On the back, we have the safety striping that you guys will see in a second. We have front, side handrails. We have the battery box right in here. On the trucks, these are die-cast trucks, and it also operates on a very low voltage. So minimum effort from the transformer, and this engine is flying. Here is the rear of the Spotlight car. It's got the safety striping in there. And then for the matching diesel, here is the safety striping for the diesel as well. And I do like how that one light in there is supposed to light up all of the gems and things like that. You do have a metal rear handrail there. So I guess that's supposed to prevent braking if you would crash or something like that. Alright guys, let's take this engine for a spin. Alright everyone, that's going to conclude this review and mini run session of some of my maintenance away pieces, especially featuring these spotlight cars or rotating beacon cars. I hope to find more of these post-war cars in the future. I'd love to find the other variations of the 3520, and especially with some train shows coming up, that might be a possibility. But anyways, if you guys had a great time watching this MP15 carry these cars all over the track, and watching the 3520 spotlight car go crazy, please consider subscribing, leave a comment, also give the video a like. It's the easiest thing to do, and it really helps out the channel. Also remember to hit that bell for all so you don't miss reviews and content just like this. Until next time everyone, happy railroading.